it's been a lot of attempts I have been making reviews, but this time I want to show you something so advanced that I had wanted to give it up, but I can't do it. So this is the very first ever Nikoleta A350 review. Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another awesome review. I hope you guys have a really good time. Today I was going to be reviewing you guys the Nikoleta A350 aircraft. I'm sorry that my voice got a little bit yeeted because I forgot to change separate both tracks in my recording software, but here we are. Welcome on board the A350-900. It is made from Nikoleta for so long. This is a 3-year-old aircraft. So let's show you guys the outside. Now outside of the aircraft, it is a very, very beautiful aircraft. The modeling looks pretty beautiful. It is very exact to almost all the A350 variants. Now, Zach says that there is actually going to be a 1000, but yeah, the modeling looks really exact. Despite there's a little bit of a tinge running down the aircraft, it's really beautiful. Even with the detailed modeling, it looks stunning. Now, from the interior of the A350-900, you can see there's actually a high ceiling right up there, so it's actually down to the aircraft. And I honestly see this as a very common trick for many manufacturers like AIRBUS to do this. But yeah, it's pretty good. Now, the galley of the A350 is really detailed. This is the front galley, which is really detailed. There's crew seats. They're not working, so I'll show you the flight control panel, the chemical panel. You can change the code. You can use hex code for colors. So I'm using the green color that I like. And watch this. Beautiful. Beautiful always. And the aircraft have a really high ceiling all the way into like just a portion of like the front row. Maybe like usually this is in the thin area because it's configuration. It is a really beautiful high ceiling cabin. I do like it. Of course, it also has a Nikoleta wall branded beautifully. I love it. I mean, I would want to try to have the Nikoleta livery on the A350, but Zeke Cross probably killed me for that. And unlike all aircrafts, it is a mesh, so you basically walk through it, or basically if you walk through the fuselage too far, you end up falling off there. Now this is actually the back of the aircraft. There's more crew seats. The galley is really detailed, it's modern, it is really perfectly accurately modeled as the A350 cabin. Overall, it's a perfect aircraft for anyone who uses it. And also the aircraft does a door animation, so you can open the door, all 4 doors of the aircraft. So not just only like the front and back and center doors, these are really legitimate for it. It is a beautiful aircraft. And I'm closing the door. It's gonna slow down a little bit, so it takes time to close, so we don't care. And the details of the aircraft is really immaculate, which is amazing. I do love the A350. It is a wonderful machine. So this is inside the flight deck of the aircraft. It is a lot, like very advanced. So we have a lot of different UIs right here, and the aircraft is very loud. So I have to reduce the volume of the game by like 50% at least, so you don't want to get your eardrum exploded. And it has a lot of systems. You usually have to fire the battery. You fire battery up, and then you fire the APU. Then you fire up 2 lights. But then you're gonna do is you're gonna fire up the engine. Now the APU is gonna take a bit of time to load it. So then you fire up engine 2. Now the aircraft engine is going to take a while to start, so here's how the engine is going to fire up. So it's rotating, so I'll forward the video, show you how it is, okay? So right here, the aircraft is going pretty good, so I want to show you guys what's in there. The engine is rotating, so every time when the engine is fired up, it has these little trails happening now. So let's get the left engine booted up. It's going to take the same amount of time. The APU should be on. Left engine, it's going to take a while, so I'll forward up again. I'll see you again. So the AIRBUS is fired up, and I changed the spot to see what's going on with the spoilers. So the aircraft is a little bit like different. So the spoilers wasn't really fully loaded. It does open, as you can see here, but the spoilers are really minimal. Like it doesn't open like a lot, but overall, I wish like if you go full flaps, I think it would open further. but I think this is what is the maximum opening for A350 for now. And the aircraft is pretty much null, so I'm gonna switch up the IPU. I'll switch to captain seat. So, which I changed up the settings a bit. I want my interface to look bad. So APU is offline. So what it is, the aircraft is going to be ready to move. I'm going to do is deactivate the parking brake by pressing B. So the aircraft tilt is moved by the arrow key, so it's going to make it 3 times as hard. So moving the aircraft to get it straightened would be even hard, which is kind of difficult. And I know that because flying the aircraft could be like a difficult challenge. So I have to brake the aircraft and then start turning. Turning the aircraft may take a lot of force because you want the tiller to go roughly 50 degrees, but sometimes you want a tiller to go above the 50 mark, go 75. It'd be a lot easier, and it would be easier for the tiller to do some evasive maneuver turnings. It's not too bad. I turn it around. Despite the taxiways getting a little narrow, the H50 managed to do it just as fine on like all the taxiways and runways. So I'll give you guys forward to like the main takeoff route. During the takeoff phase, I'll show you when we start turning the A350. It's a little bit getting it into hand. The aircraft speed is starting to slow down, but that's because the turning is increased. So I have to start with doing is mildly keep the wheel on, and then I'll try to do is sharply turn it, correct myself on the runway. And then I'll do is set the engine power by 100. And the aircraft's engines is 7 up with the full power on the engines. And it's going pretty good. Here we go. Yeah, the aircraft can tend to turn around, so you make sure you correct yourself and making sure you don't want to mess it up a lot to keep for a nice level. And then once the aircraft is nice and corrected, you can start by doing is lift the aircraft up at around 117 or 118. You have to start V1ing up, rotating out of the runway. The aircraft is a little bit bulky, so you might want to use a lot of runway. So yeah, finally taking off after before hitting the end strip of the runway. And I'll start by extending the gear up of the aircraft. And the aircraft is doing pretty well with the 13 pitch climb, although the speeds usually change when the aircraft climbs and descends, so you need to be careful without stall speeding, since the aircraft is a brand new aircraft, so there's no stall speed alarm. And once I let go of the camera once, the A350 will actually decide to change the pitch to try to nosedive. So it's not going to be easy. So I'll show you the flying experience, and then I'll land the aircraft for you, okay? During the landing phase, I decided to descend the aircraft, but despite this, the aircraft speed can go very quickly, so I had to make sure I fly it. Now, unfortunately, I can't land the aircraft using the normal method. I have to use landing gear cam, to which with the combination of both tiller and elevator and rudder combined, it would be easier for me that I don't need on those 2 cameras. So with the gear camera, it helps with easily navigate and try to land on it perfectly. So overall, during the approach part, the A350 is flying normally, although the aircraft can tend to be descended really quickly. So last time I tried to land it, it was below 100, so the aircraft easily stalls. So I decided not to go below it. So I'm flying the aircraft normally, and there's a lot of changes on it. So I'm actually flying around 143 on the descent scale, although I'm correcting the aircraft by using rudder movements, which is helped by guiding the aircraft perfectly to the runway. And although the aircraft tends to like the crosswind, so it's not going to be an easy soft approach, because I know it's not easy because this airplane is so hard to touch down properly. There you go. What's up? And I'm just going to try to just nail the nose down. It's hard to get the right rough rudder, so and the wheel doesn't move out of the runways, which is a good thing. And I decided to deploy reverse thrust, which helps decelerate the aircraft by a lot on this approach scale, which is really easy here. And I start closing the reverse thrust up, so see it right down there, really helpful. And I started taxiing the AIRBUS A350 back into the gate for like arrival. It is not an easy aircraft, and I get it. It takes skill and effort. As we're approaching into the usual ramp, as the A350 usually goes in, I have to brake the aircraft to slow down because usually the tiller just gives the aircraft like a bit of a acceleration push, so around 50 knots. So I have to slow the speed down to like a lot to keep it down. So I usually use a lot of braking to slow it down a bit, and then I engage parking brake at the top to directly slow the aircraft down. It is really much a long flight. The A350 managed to fly pretty okay, to what I see, and despite it is a complicated aircraft, which I understand it's a heavy beast, so I shut down almost all the components. So it might take a while because the A350's components is going to take a lot of time to close off. So fire up the APU on, and I shut down one new engine, so it might take a while to just shut all of them. Yeah, I'll speed up for like both engines shut down, and then I'll show you how the cargo door opens. It is a smooth animation as well. Now, to conclude up the end of the video, I want to say this as an overall rating. So usually the A350, the pros is the aircraft is one of the most advanced aircraft on the planet. It is a very detailed A350. Like it's really good cabin. I really love the cabin interior on the A350. It resembles almost like the mesh version of the metric, but maybe a lot better. And the kit and UI is so fantastic. It was just really amazing to me to try it. Now, I wanted to give that as a con, so maybe like additional jump seats should be like easy to click in and sit down, and maybe combine the tiller towards the mouse control so it's easier to glide around the aircraft. So this way it doesn't require a lot of heavy force. So maybe the other thing is you can able to like wish they can just change the layout of the keyboard. Instead of using two controls, you can use the WASD keybind, which is a lot easier, and like using the flightline keybind, which is like WASD for WS for the throttles, Q and E for sometimes normal, Z and X for the rudder. But yeah, overall this aircraft, the price, it's a little expensive, but it's worth it. The overall rating for this aircraft is a solid 8.5 out of 10. I hope you guys have fun, and thank you so much for watching the Nikoleta A350 review. and subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!